where this is gonna work here. Hi, Nikki. Got a lot of noise behind you.
Do I? Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hi, Sonia. Yeah, that's right. Partners in firecracking. That's right.
So I had to go for fire.
Nothing wrong with that.
Because that is what's going on tonight.
It sure is. It's been a fiery, spicy kind of world right now. So, hi, Melissa. Hi, Megan. Oh my gosh, my mom is here. This is pretty serious.
Hi, Uni.
Hi, Uni. Hi, Erica. My friend Jerry's here. Hi, Jerry. Hi, Jenna. Yeah,
Hi, Jen.
we are so excited. Hi, Araya. We are really excited to do this. We're really excited that so many of you guys have come to play and to listen. And, you know, we're really excited to be talking to you, and we're excited to be talking with you. So this is really, really cool. Thank you for joining us today. And Maria is here from Spain. It's 1 a.m. in Spain. And she means it. She's ready for some conversation.
Hi, Trent.
Trent's here. James. All of our Pilates fam. My friend Kimmy from way back in the day. Patty. Kim, another friend of mine. I know, 1 a.m. in Barcelona. We are so happy to have so many of you guys in this time to play in our sandbox tonight, because this is really cool. So I want to just get started and welcome you to ThoughtFLOW Volume 1, first of many volumes, I hope. This little project came about because Nikki and I, we've been friends for a couple of years now. We reach out to each other. We chat about all kinds of things, from business to mommyhood to life in general. And right now, at this time, even though this idea was coming to fruition before what's happening right now today, I couldn't have asked for a better time for us to come together as individuals, as a community, and as humans, to have a conversation and to start having more conversations on a regular basis. It's the time to find our humanity. So I want to get started. I just a quick introduction. You know, I'm always supposed to give these long introductions about myself, and they always last 37 seconds because it's a little special. So I'm just going to make it fast because I feel like you got so much to talk about today, so much to unpack. So for those of you who are new to this, I'm Misty Cauthen. I'm the owner of Dragonfly Pilates. I have 2 studios in the Pittsburgh area, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, USA. I have been teaching Pilates for little over 20 years now, which sounds impossible because I'm really only like 28 years old in my mind, maybe. But you know, I came to this business as the result of a pivot. You know, I didn't plan to become a Pilates instructor. I came to Pilates because I found it in a studio open down the street from me. But prior to that, I was a dancer. I grew up dancing. Movement was what I loved to do, and I got injured. I was the perpetually damaged dancer, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't recover from it. I got to the point where it was going to kill me physically. And so I had to find something else to do. And so, you know, I went into advertising. I was great at it. I loved it. I moved to Pittsburgh. There's no advertising here. Nothing. So I instead thought, oh, you know, I'll just go into PR and it'll be fabulous, because I just decided that it was going to be fabulous. It's not so fabulous. You know, for all of those of you out there who've got a background in marketing, advertising, public relations, whatever, you might love it. So don't take this too harshly. But like I said in the little promo for this, to me, PR felt like not constitution. It felt like prostitution. I hated selling things that I didn't give a crap about. And I was really selling my soul, and I didn't care if anybody wanted new phone service. And I didn't care about your nonprofits event, because the only people that went there were people that were self-aggrandizing anyway. So I got into it that way. I got into Pilates because I did finally find something that was going to make my body happy. And I stayed with Pilates because making my body happy made me happy. And I hadn't been happy in a long, long time. And then I was able to take those gifts that I got from Pilates and share them with others. And every day, I can honestly say, someone comes to me and says, I've made their life better. And to me, there's no better reason to have a job, because then it's not work, right? It's great. But I got there through the weeds, around the bend, past grandma's house, through Albuquerque, and I've landed here, and I love it. But it's a tough business. Everything's tough right now, I'll give you that. But it is a tough business. And, you know, my friend Nikki here has had some pretty significant pivots in her life. And why don't you share a little bit?
I too have been teaching Pilates this is my 21st year. That's a really weird thing to say. I was stuck at 15 for a while. That sounded like a good number. Former dancer, taught at Performing Arts High School. Some of my babies are here. And then I went to massage therapy school. I actually dabbled in massage, thought people were boring when they were laying there. And I was like, you need to move. So I didn't do that for much longer. I actually went through my diatonic and diakinesis training first. And then I went through what I like to refer to as a Dolly Dinkle Pilates training. If you're a dancer, Dinkle is. And then just kept wanting more, and realized that although I did not want to go to college, had zero desire to have that experience, I did enjoy learning. Met Trent McIntyre, went through his program, became a teacher trainer for Trent McIntyre, went on over with Deborah Lesson, who I currently assist. I love moving. I love teaching movement. I love teaching teachers movement. And I love it when I fell into rehab. I don't even know how I started rehab, but just, you know how you ever has this client, right? Like 6 months after they've been working with you, well, you know, I fell down a mountain skiing. No, I didn't know that, because it wasn't on your client intake form that I studied. And
yeah, I have to say, I love the fact that you just say that you fell into rehab. That's like,
I did. People would tell me, you know, I broke my wrist and my shoulder and couldn't move my arm past 90 degrees, and now I can do that. And I'm like, okay. And it just became a thing of really, I live on a grid. I live on graph paper, and I just look at people, and you know, if chocolate cake is the cue, then chocolate cake is the cue. If that's what they respond to, great, fabulous. I've been able to pull a bunch of stuff out of my hat and just get people to respond. But my goal has always been about making people feel better in their bodies and have functional movement. I don't feel like my 81-year-old aunt needs to do the teaser. But she does need to feel better in her body, and she does need to feel healthy. And then I feel like that's my job to navigate that. And I'm a huge proponent of I'm a huge proponent of the 25-hour work week. Not believe in working 40 hours a week, and that could very well be because of how much I put into my teaching and my sessions, and even on this video platform that we are on right now, and just having people feel better in their bodies. And I think I'm gonna jump into it. It's a shame when sometimes you can't get to the point where you're not seeing the people who need you the most. They can't get to you because you're not recognizable in your own community. And we all know it's the elephant in the room. So boom, I just brought it onto the screen.
You did. So there's a lot going on in our industry, and some of you are watching. I want to back up for a quick second. Some of you that are watching are non-Pilates people. You're just our friends, our people that we've acquired and who have acquired us throughout the years. And please understand that this is not just about what we do. Of ThoughtFLOW, we're going to be talking about topics that are relatable to everybody. It's not just movement professionals, but we frame things because of the boxes and the positions that we live in. So, I wanted to put that out there. Something that's happening in the world, what's happened with Mr. Floyd and in Minneapolis, has created a reckoning and started a movement and started a revolution. And I cannot move forward without addressing this because this is important, and I'm just going to put it out there. So, and then we can riff about it. So here's the thing, guys. For those of you who have taken the red pill, for those of you that are standing, it always comes back to the Matrix with me. Stop it. One day I will be like Lawrence Fishburne. You'll see me in the glasses. I'll be Morpheus style. But for those of you who are standing up, walking with us, shoulder to shoulder, side to side, as human beings with us, I want to say thank you. I don't care what it was that brought you to this moment. We are all human beings, and we are living a human experience. And if we do not come together and find a way to continue to walk together, we will remain divided. We will get to that point where there is no return. And I myself find that to be unacceptable. So for those of you who have stepped beyond the hashtags to come and play with us in our sandboxes, arm in arm, united, I once again, I have to say thanks, because some of you are stepping far outside of your comfort zones to be here. But I have to tell you this too, the work doesn't end when the movement ends. The work, I'm going to rephrase that. It doesn't end when the moment ends. The work is just beginning. It doesn't all go away in a month. It doesn't all go away in a year. It has taken us how many years to get to this point right now? So,
back on that, I think one of the things that is so misunderstood, George Floyd happened, however long it happened, like a couple of weeks, right?
I think it was only a week, but it feels like it's been a long time.
Okay, so it's been a week. But we are crying for everybody Black from 1619. And I think that a lot of people don't understand that is it's sometimes very easy for non-Black and brown people to start where their realization came into play. But that's not the same as where it started. And that's the difference. Like if there was a defining moment for a non-person of color, there was a defining moment
a person of less color.
Of less, Yeah.
person of less color. That's the term I'm using right now. I mean, because we all got a little bit of color. No one is the color of paste. Sorry.
I think it's important to understand that at the moment in time that you realize, oh, wow, and then they came for me, or wow, that's really messed up. Someone had a knee on their neck for 8 minutes. Well, that was literal. Figuratively, we've had knees on necks for a while. So wherever that moment is that you stepped into your realization of what's going on, we're back in 1619. And we have been crying and mourning and living and surviving with trauma and just
Nobody is paced. That's funny, Maria.
But we have been dealing with this for longer, so we don't really. Some people don't really have time to catch you up. That we're already exhausted. Some people will.
Yeah.
But some people don't want to. You have to be okay with that and not be offended by it, because again, we're back in 1619 and you're just now catching up, and you have to be okay with where we are. You have to give us our space, and by all means, please don't defend, because when you defend your position, that means you can't hear ours.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. I've gotten a lot of calls and messages, and I have to say this is the first time that this has ever really happened, where my paler friends have reached out to me and said, hey, I just want to know that you're okay. I'm not, you don't have to write me back. It's just checking on you, want to let you know that you're in my thoughts, you're in my heart. That's so important right now because we're tired. I mean, we're talking about institutionalized stress that happens every single day. Even when we're teaching at home on Zoom, it's every day. And so when we talk about, not, I'm going to reframe this. So there's always a concern or a need or a want to reach out and help, but you just don't really know how. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the way to help is to reach out. Another way that you can help, I can tell you how you can not be helpful, is to frame it all about you. I am devastated that this is happening to your people, the brown people. It's a little bit much. And I know that it comes from a good place for some people. I know that it comes from a good place, but it's not really the way to address your friends that are managing all of this stress and literally are sometimes afraid to drive down the road. I live in a town called Murraysville, Pennsylvania, and the number of Confederate flags I see on a daily basis when I'm not sequestered in my home is far more than you would expect. And I'm telling you, it's a lot. And they're big. They're like 80-inch plasma screen sized Confederate flags. It's extremely uncomfortable. And just that little undercurrent of stress, it's like when the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, it's like that. And that is every day. And then you get to go to a store and somebody is following you around. You know that there's somebody hiding behind there. Now, I must say, I like to look fabulous, but I'm not looking so fabulous that somebody needs to follow me around the store to check out my outfit for an hour and 22 minutes. Those microaggressions make a day very, very long. It is a very long day, and it's a long day to live that over and over again. And so what I'm saying to you is that when you make it about you and how badly it makes you feel, it might actually make me feel bad that you're feeling bad. I don't freaking feel bad about you feeling bad. I'm tired.
Well,
Tired.
dude,
So I have to just put it out there.
we can't catch you up. We can't catch you up. We can't, you know, if you don't know who Emmett Till is, you know, because that's where we are. We can't catch you up. You know,
Read a book.
I'm saying to people, wow, do you know what last weekend was? And they're like, well, there was a lot of rioting and looting. And I'm like, yes, like that happened in Tulsa as well. That was the anniversary of Tulsa. And people are like,
Tulsa?
they're like, how do I say I don't know without saying I don't know? And it's like, how do you truly understand? You know, Google it. Shit, Google it, because we know the history. We know the history, and so
Well, we don't all know. You know, I have to tell you, I've become much more educated. As Sonia would say, the educated Negro. I have become much more educated recently over the past, I'd say, 10, 12 years. I mean, when I learn more and more about our history, I'm like, well, why the hell did I go to school?
Misty, 10, 12 years is not recent.
Well, I told you I'm only 22. Shut up. So what all I'm saying is, you know, okay, it feels recent to me because I feel like I should have known this. I feel like this is something that should have been brought to my attention. Yes, Marco. Rosewood.
So
absolutely.
The irony of the Amy Cooper issue with Central Park and the Brambles is you gotta know what Central Park was before it was Central Park. So yeah, we're tired. We're tired of, we have to comfort you, white people, and then we have to educate you, white people, and but we live in a state of survival. Segue. Did you like how I did that, Misty? We live in a state of survival, and it requires, I don't think I know anybody with the resilience of a Black woman. Yes, I said it. I don't know anybody with the resilience of a Black woman, and just the tenacity and the fortitude, because there's an expectation that we're supposed to keep going, and everybody has some level of resiliency, right? Everybody has a level of resiliency. We understand that. But how do we keep from depleting our resiliency? Because at the end of the day, we still got to get up. We still got to start all over again. We got to teach our Zoom sessions, or we got to go to the grocery store, or we have to go and get some gas in the car that we're not going to drive because we're working.
You want to just park it out front.
Just in case. But being resilient and then expanding upon that resiliency, like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, without depleting our reserves, because we're in an ambiguous time and we're not quite sure what's around the corner besides.
Hey now, what are you doing jumping around in that corner? Damn it, did you steal something, Nikki? Sit down.
So, resilience and expansion. And that is what our conversation is about, because there was something before this. We're in the middle of this. And then we have to, there's something after this, right? Because we're not going to stay here. There's something after this. So we can't deplete our reserves. So that's what our conversation is about today: resilience and expansion.
Right. I mean, and for those of you that are just popping in, I am Misty Cauthen. I'm speaking with my dear friend and partner in crime and conversation, Nikki Taylor Stewart, and what I say, and we are talking about some current events stuff happening right now, and we're also talking about resilience. So Trent is saying here, he's speaking about his personal experience, and that was, I know I swung right back to this, Nikki, but there's some good stuff coming up on the feed. Trent mentioned that white schools teach white history.
No, that's called his story.
Well, and beyond that, though, you know, who writes history? Nobody. The loser doesn't get to write the history books. I'm not saying that we're the loser. I'm saying we never got the opportunity to win. That's a different discussion for another day, or maybe later today. Who knows how long this is going to go? But the person that writes.
Yeah, they showed it on with Regina King, Watchmen. Yeah.
The Watchmen, yes, and P.S. was originally a graphic novel. Just saying, cheers to the geeks in the back. Anyway, so the point of the story is that, you know, our history hasn't been told. I mean, damn, they didn't give us pens and paper till for however long. We didn't have a chance to sit at the table to write our own history. And there are some great writers out there that are writing the truth, that have written the truth. And if you want an education on it, that's where you go. And Araya says, same thing with Native American history. It's sugar coated and told by the victors and read by the blind girl. But yeah, you're not going to get a full understanding of history when it's told by the people that were doing the enslaving. Right. By the oppressors. The oppressor is never going to say, hey, guy I've squashed on the throat, can you please tell me what you think of this so I can make sure I write it down accurately? No, because nobody ever wants to look like a penis. Oh, not like that penises are bad. I mean, just like a dick. Sorry.
And I also think that so historically, if you say this whole swath of people is bad and ignorant and doesn't have anything and can't do anything and they must be guided and given everything that they have, and then all of a sudden they pop up and they're inventing stuff, you know, like the stoplight and gas mask that firemen that use, or they are the mathematicians that are sending astronauts to space. Well, you got to keep them under wraps because you told people for years and years and years that they couldn't do anything without you. So now what? How do you? Oh, well, these are exceptions. Except, oh shoot, there's like so many exceptions. It's like, oh, apparently it's like the whole crew has a brain in their head and can actually use it. Yeah, and we cook and we clean and we raise babies and we raise your babies and we do all this other stuff. But now you have to reconcile with that. You have to reconcile with, you told people for hundreds of years that they couldn't do anything without you. There's a lot in his story that perpetuated for future generations how people of color would be seen. I gotta say it, Misty. I have no filter right now.
I mean, you're talking to me about that? I just said penis and dick.
Resilience. When white people try to help, but they don't have an appropriate background, they actually throw more kerosene on the fire. And that happened today with Pilates Anytime. You must understand what happens when the colorism is a thing. Colorism is a thing. I have to, because when you're trying to help and you shove your foot further up someone's, it's a thing. So colorism, biracial people have a different experience, and they live in a world. And I have biracial kids. Misty has a biracial son, so yes, I do know. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I speak. I am not biracial, but I have biracial kids. But when you ask a fair-skinned Black person to speak on behalf of all the other people, all the other brown people, Black people, right? My chocolate sisters, my deep, dark chocolate sisters, they feel like you have lost your ever-loving mind because you don't know your history. When you don't understand that within the Black culture, the closer you are to white in some respects, the more accepted you are. That's historical. You're talking fraternities and sororities. If you're black and you know you got the AKAs, you know the paper bag test. If you don't know the paper bag test, you need to go look it up because I'm not going to tell you what the paper bag test is.
Paper bag test. Sorry.
So then you have house slave versus field slave. So you cannot come to this.
Why don't you explain that? Because I don't think everyone knows.
So,
that.
So the house slave. So first of all, well, okay, let me just give you a brief. I'll give you this little tidbit because I can't stand when black men are referred to as deadbeat dads. That just burns my butt. The reason why is because white, the original deadbeat dads, the reason children are typically the property of their mothers is because plantation owners would breed their own slaves. And of course, if you have interracial, then you have lighter kids and you have good hair back, whole other thing. And so you have these fair-skinned slaves, some of whom passed school days, some passed for white, and they got to be in because they were more acceptable. They were more acceptable black people, right? Because we have like the black people, and then we have the more acceptable black people, and we put the more acceptable black people because they're more aesthetically pleasing, so they get to be in the house. They get the better jobs. The better job being raped by your master. I digress.
Not fun.
Versus the field slave. And a field slave might have been darker, might have been more robust, might have been more hardy, right? So when you fast forward to 2020 in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of a race riot, in the middle of what else is coming, I'm not sure. Oh, that's like climate change, global warming, and a really bad hurricane season coming. So
murder hornets. I mean, yeah.
The killer hornet, right. The bananas, the diseased bananas, the banana crop is in danger as well.
As is the coffee crop.
Oh, yes. So,
what fun. Aren't you glad you tuned in? It's called Death and Despair.
So when you ask two fair-skinned black women to speak, what you are doing is you are inciting the colorism that already exists amongst the black community. That's one. Number two, I said the cicadas. I was starting to say it. 17 years, the cicadas are coming. You're inciting the colorism that already exists within the black community. You are disavowing the very specific position that biracial people live in. They live in they're in their own space sometimes because they are, they're not black, they're not white, they're biracial. And it's not just
and you know what? I just want to jump in for my biracial friends here. They have their own crop of problems.
Yes.
It's so unfair and it's so hard. It's getting better, I will say. I think our kids have it a lot better than the previous generation. But being biracial in itself has, and I'm just speaking because a very dear friend of mine, she's actually a sister to me. That's how close we are. We talk about this all the time because she came up at a time where it was not okay for her to be black and it was not okay for her to be white. And she looks like a paley. Actually, she's beautiful. She's super exotic. She is like a stunner and she's about to change the world, but that's a different story. But, she would try to go on a date and these parents didn't like her because she was the wrong color and these parents didn't like her because she was the wrong color. You get the worst of both worlds as a biracial person. So, there's no saying that anybody is getting a pass here. But what Nikki is saying is when you allow, I just told you what you were saying. I'm sorry, but I'm going to keep going. Just sit back, have coffee. But when you trend toward lighter, fairer, you reinforce the idea that lighter and fairer is better. You are negating anybody that's deeper shades of color. And you're giving yourself a little bit of an out. Because let's be honest about what this is. And I am not saying that these people are not brilliant and beautiful and talented and all of these other things. Not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that it's a little bit easier. It's a little bit easier for you to spell this.
Acceptable Black people.
Yes.
That's what's so infuriating, because this is the deal. When you try to make change within your comfort zone, that's not change. That's appeasement. So when non-brown people, shady, color palette people, European, white, when you choose to be when you put your boots on, roll up your sleeves, get dirty, and you were like, okay, I'm going to strip it raw. I'm going to be uncomfortable. And that's why you don't understand why the little nuggets that you throw out in the arena, well, why don't they take those scraps? Because we've always had the scraps. That's what collard greens are. That's what ham hocks are. We got scraps. We got scraps. So we know what the scraps are. We know how to do them. We took those scraps and we bombed them out. But no, you have to be uncomfortable. You can't be safe, because our parameters are from the white perspective. Those are what the parameters are. You told us once that we were 3/5 of a person. You don't know what that means, y'all? Go look it up. You told us we were 3/5 of a person, and we were compared to cattle. So when we go back to the beginning wasn't written for us.
No.
It wasn't for us.
No.
So that's why when you decide that one of the most racially insensitive things you can say to someone, of a person of color, is, I'm not racist. Number one, that's your opinion. That's your opinion. Because it's marked and steeped in so much of what is, that if you don't realize that you benefit from racist policies and practices, then you're not ready to have the conversation. You're not uncomfortable. You're defending your position because you don't want to be wrong. I don't want to be wrong. Don't see me in that light.
I don't see color.
If you don't see color, then you're really just confirming that you don't see me. And then, so we're really not going.
You've actually just stepped in the shit. It is now up to your ankle, because you just told me that oh, slather it. Oh yeah. But what you've done, you have told us that I don't see color, I don't see you. I mean, it's a little bit hard to want to listen to your position after you've just told me I don't exist. And there are people that will say, well, I don't identify by color. I don't identify you by color. How fortunate for you. Because you know what? That dude with the Confederate flag driving down the street identifies me by my color. You cannot negate my experience because you have a colorblind problem. That is a problem. Your clothes don't match.
Yeah. So like I said, if you're not willing to be uncomfortable, and I'll bring it up, Uni, because Uni asked me this. Uni said, what do I say to clients who want to engage? And I said, well, the first thing is, do you want to feel better, or are you ready to listen? If you want to feel better, like I got kids, that's my job, to make my kids feel better, right? Then if they want to listen, then you say, well, I don't want your opinion. This is not a discussion. Are you ready to listen? Because the minute you defend your position, you're not listening. I saw a little bit of what that was between Uni and Gia, and what hugs, it's Misty and I agree on a lot of things, and we have a lot of experience. To sit, I'm 48 years old. I'll be 49 in September. I have done a lot, and I have seen a lot, and loving me doesn't equal hating you. And I like to use my superpowers for good. I really, really do. And I'm going to bring it back, Misty. It requires an enormous amount of resilience. It requires me to have tools in my toolbox that I must often go back and reevaluate because, you know, like the resiliency that I need for my kids. Oh, y'all, I got 4 boys. Ooh. The resiliency that I need for my kids.
Oh, I'm tired.
Is a different resiliency when I walk into my studio and my billionaire, literally, my billionaire client doesn't want to pay my rate because she just doesn't pay that much for a workout. Anyone who's ever had a session with me knows that it is just so much more than a workout.
It is absolutely, absolutely. She
So,
asked me about my last visit with the gynecologist, and I was like, now, Nikki, I feel like maybe we're going, I mean, I knew we were going to get down, but I didn't know we were getting downtown. So, but yeah, sorry, I just, yeah.
tools in your toolbox for resiliency and expansion. We have had everything, it was like a light switch went off and we all went pivot. And you know, there were some of us who jumped into the fray and we just freaking, you know, dove in like Olympic divers and we were like, yeah.
We built business models in 3 days. I mean, that is remarkable for anybody, but especially considering that we were in the midst of a crisis, a public health crisis,
right,
of proportions that we have not in our generation ever seen. Kudos to all of us that have done that and that are getting through that. But
and did it and was just on the fly. Okay, who's using what platform? Who's using what platform? And I think one of the most beautiful things that I saw was how giving people were. Try this platform. If your Zoom is doing this, then try this. There was a moment in time there where it didn't matter. Like it didn't matter. It didn't matter where you were coming from. It was just like collectively we need to move forward and if you need to teach it, I can give you tools to that fed my resiliency reservoir because I didn't feel like I was by myself and I didn't feel like I was in competition. We're not going to talk about the free classes. I digress. But,
I think we might have to. We might just have to talk about it a little bit, but because it talks about resilience and valuing who you are. I feel like we need to talk about it, but we'll get to it in a second. Nikki, I digress.
I felt like there was a moment in time where everyone was just like, how can I help? And even if it was a teeny tiny nugget, they were just like, well, I tried this. And I think some people were teaching on their phones. And I was like, you're teaching on I'm teaching on I'm cast into a 75-inch TV. And I remember somebody said, you're doing what? And I said, girl, there's a button on your mouth. Because I teach Pilates. I don't do IT. But my son, I was like, baby, how can I make this bigger? And he was like, Mom, just cast to the TV. And I was like,
Mom, gosh, you're so old.
So I did it. And I was like, magical freaking unicorn. And people were like, what are you looking at? I'm looking at you on a 75-inch TV, you know, and just little nuggets that allowed people to be that much more successful and that much more successful and that much more successful. And then I taught my Sunday class. I didn't care. Some people gave me donations. I didn't do it for donations. I did it because I saw right away, we don't look at screens. We look at people live and in person. And after my first day, I was like, my eyes, I felt like that guy. Sorry.
It was rough. I mean, it was brutal in those first few days, wasn't it? For you know, it's amazing. It was amazing to me how much more focused I could be watching bodies move and grow on a screen. I actually think that it's been so good for my teaching because I have to focus in on the square. I don't have the distractions over here and over here. So that was great. And I agree with you about the whole sharing element, Nikki. I feel like, so for those of you that don't know Pilates, there's all kinds of issues, you know. I mean, it's just like the sharks and the jets all the time because, you know, you've got your classical people and your contemporary people and your East Coast and your West Coast. You have all these people and they all have their ideas of what's right and what's best. And then you've got your people in the middle who are like, I just want to teach something that's really great and helps people. And they're like, no, pick a side. I don't pick sides. You know why? Because I'm 45. I don't have to pick anything. I can pick my nose. I can pick my underpants if I want, but I don't have to pick anything. But what was really cool about that time was that there was nothing but our industry coming together. And and 20 years, almost 21 in this business, I'd never seen anything like it. And I'm going to veer right back off of this for a second and go back to our last topic. It has been brilliant to me to see us come together. Those of us that are coming together, of course, but it's been brilliant to see us come together for each other. And getting back to that idea of walking side to side, you know, I'm actually sounding like positive and a little bit cheery here. This is disturbing. But for us all to come together and walk together side by side in an industry where there's been so much division, it was super great. And I'm bringing this back because there was something that happened this week. Well, Tuesday, yesterday, and today, regarding one of the biggest, well, at least they say they are anyway, the one of the biggest industry organizations. And, you know, they had an opportunity to do something great for all of us to help keep this unity happening. And they failed. And yet we've still managed to come together, fight them. And I think that's important to mention.
Well, and I think it goes back to that thing of one of the things that needs to be understood. And you know, my dad is 83 in July. My dad is 83. He has lived through a lot of stuff, right? My aunt, my favorite aunt. If you guys have seen her on IG, Gary, that's actually my real aunt. She just turned. So there are lives and experiences that they have lived, and I speak to them often, and they have a perspective that I don't think my dad likes white people, but he's 83. What do I care? So like, how weird, right? Like when your daughter marries a white guy, he's Greek, but when your daughter marries a white guy and has 5 racial kids, but what you gonna do, right? And I divorced him, but
the end.
Firstborn son of a Greek immigrant. So y'all know how that is. Those firstborn European people who come over here, nothing to do with race. It has to do with it. So, but when you try to solve problems and you don't understand the root of the problem, that's a problem. And so I asked, and this is, I have to be very clear. This is not a PMA. This is bittersweet for me because this is not a PMA bashing. This is truly bittersweet for me because I actually have had a very good experience with the PMA, much to do with my affiliations. If you're on the feed, then you know what I'm talking about. I was introduced to it when Trent was board president, and then I continued with Deborah Lesson. But the reality of it is a lot of people came up to me, and I was very well aware of this. A lot of Black women came up to me and said, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're here. I can't believe you're presenting. I didn't think I was going to see this. Wow. Okay. Got that tattooed in my brain. And then people came up to me, white people came up to me and would say things like, how do we get more of you here? You know, and I said this in my feed. Black people have lived in spaces and have lived in time where literally there were signs that said whites only. Now, those may be literal handwritten or hand etched whatever signs, right? But there are still spaces where that is a figurative moniker. And it is very hard to walk into spaces that are white or even perceived as white, because there's good vulnerability, and there's this, wow, I hope I don't shit my pants vulnerability, because you're looking for an ally, you're looking for anyone who looks like you, because the reason white people feel so free to do all of the things that they do is because it happens in white spaces, and they feel very safe because everything in the world is a white space.
Or conversely, you're in a white space and you see another person that looks like you, and you avoid them like the plague. Why? Because growing up, if too many people of color got together, if there were 3 of us, it was considered a gang, and it immediately had to be dispersed. Because like the 5'4" girl that's wearing her Z Cavarici jeans, she's clearly a gang member. I might be speaking from personal.
Or that you're related, and I'm like,
we're all related. Didn't you know that? I was like this to Oprah the other day, and she got the message, because if you have brown skin, you communicate like this.
And now there's little cover-ups. Oh, do you guys teach together? No, we don't teach together. We don't know each other. We don't even freaking live in the same town. I just met this person, just like you just met this person. Do you know every person here?
Sorry.
No. And you're looking at my badge, because my badge says Nikki Taylor Stewart, and her badge says Ebony Brown. Like, what? So it's trying to create change, but you not wanting to be uncomfortable. And that's a huge thing for me. That's a very big change. Is only change if you change. Change is only change if you change.
Write it down. Get a t-shirt. Change is only change if you change.
If there are remnants of the original path, then that's not change. That's not change. That's change. And so I'm gonna bring it back, Misty. We as people of color, brown people, that's another thing. I'm like,
I thought you were bringing it back. See,
we have found enormous ways of being resilient and having tools that enable us to go on. It's like, white people, it's not so cool when you say, I can't believe you've survived this. I can't believe you have the tenacity and the fortitude to keep going. Right.
Well, what else? First of all, what else was I supposed to do? Was I just going to lay down? That's it. Sorry, family. You're right. I'm going to just lay down now, because I can't believe I have tenacity and fortitude either. You don't have a choice.
We're freaking collective. We plug in at night. There's a hole. There's a hole in the back. I got it.
Back to the Matrix again. See?
When you say, I can't believe you can do this, what I hear is, yeah, you ain't got the gumption for it. Because you don't. Because we got 400 years of fortitude and tenacity just steeped into our very DNA. So when you astounded, when your eyes are open and you get unplugged from the matrix, and you see and you realize, oh shit, that's a lot. Like they do all of this, and they still manage to look fabulous.
And you get tired when you hear that, right? When you hear of all this stuff that we're talking about right now. I mean, I'm sure some of you are like, well, they're fabulous and that's funny in any way, but I'm starting to feel a little bit. This feels like labor, just hearing these stories. Imagine living them and processing it. What was that, Nikki? I'm sorry.
Question: If my white brethren, do you have the tenacity to go through this? Because I keep saying, you're not uncomfortable. If you're looking at me and saying, wow, I can't believe you wake up every morning. Yes, I got babies to feed. I love my life. I do what I love, and I love what I do. But when you look at me as if what I have endured or what any other Black person has endured, and you look as if that's some supernatural feat, it gives me pause. It makes me question, are you up for the challenge, for the change that you say you think you want for us? because you don't look uncomfortable. You look astounded that we keep going.
Well, and Gail said right there, did they doubt that we could? I actually don't think it's that insidious. I think it just never crossed the radar, because if you're not living an experience, you have to go out of your way to understand somebody else's experience.
Correct.
If you are living in the land of cupcakes and dewdrops and everything is perfectly fabulous, and then you cross the tracks and then you're in Shittown, USA, you're not going to believe what you're seeing. But you have to make that move to cross. You have to make the move to see. And so when you look at this in terms of race, you're not going to understand my experience unless you take off the glasses and look and try to see. And even me telling you about it, it's still not ever going to equate to me living it. But if you ask me and I feel like sharing, I'm going to share it with you, because I do think it's important that you ask. And if you, some of you are probably thinking too, well, hey, you know what? Listen, I have less color, but I've had a tough life too. I have had to work hard to persevere and get to where I am. And it's not been strawberries and dewdrops. I'm getting hungry, you can tell. It hasn't been that. We're not saying that your life has been strawberries and dewdrops. It's not about that at all. Your life experience is your life experience, but the difference is your life experience, unless you're committing a crime intentionally, probably won't get you killed.
Right.
But my life experience, I was in the Charlotte airport a couple of months ago, and anybody that knows me knows I avoid the South like the plague. I don't even like to fly through Charlotte. I pretend Charlotte doesn't even exist most of the time. But I had to go through this goddamn airport, and it was early, so I was already salty. So a little bit of a story here. So I walk into the little airport store because I was looking for hand wipes, because this was at the start of COVID. And I walked in and I asked the shopkeep, I said, do you have any Clorox wipes? And she said, oh, if I have any, they're over there. So there are two. I'm going to get this political a little bit, but that's where we're going. So deal. So I had to walk past these Trumpers, and they were wearing their Make America Great Again hat. And as I'm walking by, I'm thinking, this is going to be shit. I know it. Because they weren't moving out of the way, and I had to squeeze around them. I didn't touch them. I didn't do anything. I just shimmied around, looked. I didn't see what I wanted. I shimmied back around, said to the shopkeep, you don't have what I'm looking for. I'm taking off. So I left. 2 gates down was where I was taking off. I'm standing there and I'm waiting in line, and the shopkeep comes over and says, well, actually I hear off behind me, did you take those wipes? Actually, what I heard was rah, 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 wipes. I'm like, oh, okay. She said, excuse me, ma'am, did you take those wipes? And I turned and I said, oh no, I told you I didn't take them. Ignored her. And then she says to me, well, those people in the store said that you took the wipes, that you put them in your pocket. And I was like, I did not take the wipes, no. And I'm standing in line, and they're about to call my number. And she said, well, the people said you took the wipes. So this is the game that I had to play with myself. You all know me. Some of you know me. You know what I wanted to say. But I had to really quickly self-center fast. I had to drag myself back into my own body, which I was starting to levitate above it. And I had to conduct myself in a way that was not going to get me arrested. Why? Because I actually had to go through the math of, okay, I am in the South at an airport. I could very easily be dragged off. TSA is right over there. Where is this going to go for me? I've got to be in California to do a video shoot. This is going to cost me money. This whole effing thing I had to do, because those special people felt the need to try to shit in my Cheerios that day. Well, and that is the day. That's the way it goes. What was that?
It's not even the people. It's the fact that those people can say whatever they want, right? but they were believed.
Always. 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 And so when we say things like, yeah, we do worry about our lives, we fear for our lives. I mean, that's what we feel. And you can possibly maybe negotiate it by say, well, you know what, but your calm had prevailed and da da da. Do you know how it messes up your day to have to sit and ruminate over the fact that some racist sons of bitches could have gotten you at least detained and quite possibly maimed or worse on the daily? That's
And
you've done
this. You've already walked, because every space you walk into, you've got the checklist. So you've already done the checklist. You've already done your countdown, your 10, 15, 20, depending on how far below the Mason-Dixon line you are. You've already done your checklist. So to have the extra checklist is too much. And so by the time you've gone through that and someone has intentionally put you in a space where your very life, I don't know if you guys know, I don't know how many of you have seen Misty. Misty is like this big. Her personality is the size of Saturn and Jupiter. But she's tiny. And so it's not even that. It's the intimidation of a woman. It's the intimidation of a woman of color. And it's the intimidation of a woman of color who's minding her own business and is taking up very little space. And the fact that some random person can have that level of an influence on your life and what is going on in that moment in time and in space for you, and you have to sit there and you basically have to freaking play this chess game to figure out how you can keep from being detained in an airport where you haven't done anything, and you try to just get on your plane and go and do your thing. And then you have that experience, and then someone comes up to you and says they want to be comforted because they are just now at a place where they can understand at a teeny tiny fraction of what you might be experiencing. No, anybody got time for that? And that's why you don't understand why people get hostile, because you are not the first encounter. You are the 120th for that day. And then you watch a video. The Amy Cooper video just it's so bad. And please don't misunderstand what I'm saying, because a man dying is profound. A man dying is a man dying. But I think that when you see a woman, and so when you notice Christian Cooper's phone, and I was like, dude, was he on a tripod? Because I cannot take videos. That's still holding a phone in my hand.
He's probably gimbal.
Her fake escalation, her charging towards him, the whole thing. And you guys need to watch Trevor Noah, because it was awesome. The man is brilliant. Trevor Noah is just such an old soul.
And he's super cute.
He's super cute. Her calling the police as a white woman with the full understanding of what it may mean for him. Do you know what that was? That was Emmett Till.
That was attempted murder. That's what that was. It was attempted murder.
Attempted murder, but it was modern day Emmett Till. And I don't know who knows what, but that freaking woman just recanted her story.
Oh yeah, a couple of years ago. It's disgusting. And if you don't know about this case, you really should read about it and learn about it. And there's a couple of documentaries that have come out in the past few years that have been really, really excellent. But you have to learn about Emmett Till. Everybody should be required reading in school.
Resilience, right? His mother, so Emmett Till was from Chicago, so it's very well known in Chicago. But if you don't know who Emmett Till is, his mother had a level of fortitude that is beyond. And she insisted on, there's two things. She insisted on having his casket open. He was so disfigured. And I think it's important to understand that, because I have a 12 and 13-year-old. Emmett Till was 14 years old.
Harrison's 14.
Yeah, he was 14 years old. He was so disfigured. He was so disfigured because not only did they beat him and cut him, what do you call that word? I can't remember that word. But they drowned him. They shot him and then they drowned him. So he was also bloated from water. And she insisted on it being an open casket. And then on the other side of it, it was almost as if when Medgar Evers, when they opened up, when they exhumed his coffin, Medgar Evers' body like didn't decompose, right? Like that was like weird. It's like we have these very powerful things that have happened. And when I saw the Amy Cooper thing, it just really hurt because it didn't matter that he was a bird watcher. It didn't matter that all these other people knew him and were often, with him when he was bird watching. None of these things mattered. It didn't matter.
It didn't matter that he approached her respectfully.
Breaking the law.
It didn't matter. She wanted what she wanted. She did not like being challenged.
Okay.
And so she tried to have the man executed.
And that when people say, "Oh, no, that's what that meant." Her whole demeanor was, "I am a white woman with power. I have the power to do this, and I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna fake it, and I'm gonna have fake eyes as if I'm in danger." And that is what we deal with on a regular basis. That is what our men deal with. That is what we deal with, from the football player who left high school and went to jail because a white girl said that he raped her. Went to jail for 5 years. She asked to see him. No, nobody's names. I got a lot of kids. I can't remember nobody's name. But he got out of jail. He served his 5 years, and she won a $2 million lawsuit from the school. She felt bad and had lunch with him, and he taped her, and she basically recanted her story, and he taped her. And it's like, let me think, a liberal woman. Well, don't get it confused. Don't a white woman is a white woman, and you don't want to get me there because white women don't want their station in life to change. Now, I'm speaking in general terms. I'm generalizing, but white women don't want their station in life to change. And they do things to keep their. We'll look at that when we talk about what do you call it, the right to vote, right? And that's the day that we celebrate here. I said no. I said white women actually threw black women under the bus to get that right, and they want to maintain their station in life. White women, I would say more than white men, fully understand what's going on, and they fully understand that if those white men are not up there, it all goes to hell in a handbasket for them. And again, when we speak, God, dang it, we are talking resilience, resilience, and and we get it, and we get that it's a heated topic, and Misty and I tried up until about 2 hours before we did this to keep it on topic, and it's not so much that it's off, but we tried really, really hard, but we understand that it is a very massive, elephant in the room, and we didn't want to appear as though we were ignoring it. We, obviously we can't ignore it, but it's understanding. I am happy to have conversations with people if people want to hear what we are discussing, right? We are happy to have conversations, but it is not our job to educate you on Black history. You have access to everything that we have access to. In a lot of respects, you have access to more. You can pick up a book and you can read, you can Google, you can educate yourself, you can go to a lecture. You can, because this is the big that's happening right now, right? This is the big bubbling cauldron that's happening right now. I said it twice for a reason, because in the pool house down the yard, um, they just did um, there's a report, and I've got to go back and look at it. They're basically talking about redlining in Chicago, and I'm like, shut up. And they're basically saying that redlining is on the rise. It's either on the rise or it never really went away, and they're still having an issue with mortgage companies who just aren't giving mortgages to Black people. And I'm like, really? And maybe it feels personal because I'm trying to buy a house and there's a pandemic and there's a race riot and now there's redlining, and I'm like,
redlining again.
I just want to buy a house, right? I just want to buy a house, and it's like, so that's like an everyday thing, right? Like there's like this huge bubbling cauldron on top, but there's all this like just normal stuff, right? There's like this just normal stuff, like, really, redlining, really, I can't get a mortgage. Okay.
But you know what's important to say about that, though, is that, you know, redlining has been a thing.
Yeah.
Every decade or every other decade for who knows how long now. And it's still happening, and people still don't know about it. And you know why people don't know about it? Because they don't feel like it pertains to them. If we are going to make change happen, we have got to learn from our past. We can't. They don't teach civics in school anymore, and they did a real shit job of teaching it the first time back in our day. So the only way that things are going to get better is for us to demand of ourselves that we are educated. And P.S., if you think that some of the stuff that we're saying is a bit off the wall, and you think that we as a nation should be coming together, one nation under God, and the way this country was created was for everybody, I want you to read the 3rd verse of the Star-Spangled Banner. That's your homework, is to read the 3rd verse of the Star-Spangled Banner. Because once you read that, that should illuminate to you what we are standing against here. So I want you all to keep that in mind. We have talked a little bit about resilience and a little bit about survival, but a whole lot about things that are really, really important. So, you know, I just want to thank you all for coming to play in our sandbox tonight, because these are conversations that we need to start having, as not even as just a community, but as a human race, as a group of humans that need to find a way to find a common ground and move forward. We need to be speaking out on behalf of each other. The only way this gets better is if we make it better. We sure as shit cannot count on the bloviated kumquat president of ours, who is doing nothing but causing more consternation. We certainly can't expect that fool to get anything done. So it starts in our communities. It starts at home. It starts with you talking to your family. And you know what? If you've got somebody that's saying some racist bullshit garbage to you, as Erica just pops in and I'm saying racist bullshit garbage, if you've got somebody saying that to you, stop it. Stop it. What are they going to do? Look at you funny? You have a responsibility. We all have a responsibility to each other to do better. Period.
And I think if you find, you know, Misty and I, we don't have filters. Maybe we did at 6 o'clock this morning, but we don't have filters. And I would say that for some of you, you know, don't, I don't know, I'm just, you know, if you're being silent, whatever, don't be offended by how we speak. It's tinged with a lot of emotion, it's tinged with a lot of love, it's tinged with a lot of exhaustion. But I would say that, you know, maybe don't get so caught up in how we're saying it. And if you don't have an issue with our tone, awesome, rock so. I like Care Bears and Rainbows, but try not to get caught up if something, you know, if something is offensive to you, take a step back, count to 10, and maybe listen a little bit more to how the conversation progressives. I know that our intent is not to offend. Our intent is to inform and to invoke conversation. And so I'm not going to keep saying it because we're all adults. But that's the disclaimer. It's about having a conversation, and it requires honesty, and people are going to get their feelings hurt.
We're going to speak our truth because that's the life we live. And, you know, at almost 46 and almost 50, we've earned the right to talk from our frame of reference, and we have to do that. But we're not going to lie. We're not going to lie to you. You never have to worry about that. I have a really terrible poker face. If I'm lying, you will definitely know.
Awesome.
So guys, thank you. Thank you so much for listening. Those of you that have been in from the beginning, thank you so, so much. Those of you that are just popping in, so sorry. We've been talking all day. We gotta skadoot. But we'll be back next week. So hopefully you'll come and play with us again. And thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming to play.
Bye, guys.